We're taking position RF.
So now then, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is something a little bit different. Later on in the week I should have some football videos going up about the January transfer window, or soccer to you Americans, and on top of that I thought I'd try something really different. Well, not much different from movies because it's still a movie property, but gaming. Like with the football, I've covered it in my old podcast, the Weekend podcast, but I'd like to do the odd video here and there on the games that I really like to play. And today that includes Battlefront 2. So for those of you that don't know, on Monday 3rd we got a new update for Battlefront 2. We get monthly updates in this game at the moment, so they just seem to roll across quite often, but some content updates can be quite small in nature, with just a couple of bug fixes and some emotes and cosmetic stuff. Some of them can just come with a hero or an individual map, but this one is pretty big. This is the second part to part one of the Sequel Trilogy Capital Supremacy update is what I call it. We got part one in December, which came with new skins for Kylo Ren, Finn, Rey, and co-op for the Sequel Trilogy, and a couple other bug fixes and cosmetic stuff. So that was the main part of that update, but this update is totally different. Now we've got Agent Kloss, which was the new map that we got last month for Capital Supremacy and Instant Action, along with Takodana and Jakku for Supremacy. We'll talk about why that's got a name change a little bit later on. We've got two brand new heroes. It's the first time since launch of the game that we've got two heroes in the same update. The last ones being Phasma and Finn in December 2017. We also have some cosmetic updates for Finn and Kylo Ren. They're both being given emotes and the usual bug fixes and everything else. But the main thing in this update is that Jakku, Takodana and Agent Kloss have come to Supremacy and the two new heroes. So before I go in and review them, which is what the kind of point of this video is, I'm trying to review the BB update. Basically, there was a massive, huge announcement in the community transmission for the BB update, which is the first thing that I want to get into before we even get into this update. Basically, the Age of Rebellion, also known as the original trilogy, is now coming to Supremacy, along with a long-awaited, much-anticipated map from 2015's Battlefront and from Rogue One, Scarif. The reason it's now been changed to Supremacy rather than Capital Supremacy is because the Age of Rebellion is mainly focused on the ground. It seems stupid that with the Death Star 2 being one of the maps and Scarif being one of the maps, why would they leave the Death Star 2 to go to a capital ship when they're already on the biggest ship that they need to take down anyway, and 2 with Scarif because Scarif has the shield gate, so it's hard to transport vehicles through it. So it just seems really stupid and breaks canon if they made it a ground to air type of mode for the Age of Rebellion. So no capital ships, so it's just been renamed to Supremacy. But yeah, it's a massive thing, much anticipated. It means a lot of people will probably leave Galactic Assault now, because the only reason they were staying on Galactic Assault for so long was because we didn't have Sequel Trilogy and Original Trilogy Supremacy maps. Now we do. So yeah, and hopefully a ton more skins, especially for villains of the Original Trilogy and the Prequel Trilogy, like Maul, Palpatine, Vader, Boss, similar ones to that. So yeah, with that massive announcement out the way, something I'm very looking forward to. That content starts rolling out in February, so the end of this month we get our update that was delayed a couple of days, early February, and then we get our next update at the end of February. So yeah, so that concludes the big announcement part at the beginning. Now we're going to move into what this BB update actually includes, go over what mainly content. I'm not going to go over bug fixes really, because if you want to check them out you can just go and check the patch notes, which I'll put a link to in the description. What's the point in me going through it, because it's just numbers and stats and stuff. So I'm just going to go through the content and I'm going to give it a quick review, if you know what I mean. Like, I'll go over what my thoughts are on content that we've been given. So first up, let's move into the most important thing that we got in this update, which is the two heroes. So we'll start with BB8. BB8 has 3 normal abilities, 3 passive abilities, and 1 normal primary weapon. BB-9E is exactly the same. So first off, we'll go through what BB-8 has. He's really, really fast. Both these droids are really, really fast. They can go as fast as Force users. They have quick dodges to the side, like most heroes, but theirs are on ball, so it's quicker. They have a small, short impulse jump. It's slightly higher than Blaster heroes, so they can get off the ground a little bit easier, get up to higher places easier than Blaster heroes. And both droids have a flashlight, so that's pretty much how they're similar. So we're now going to move on to BB-8's main abilities, which are his rolling charge ability. Basically, when you activate the rolling charge ability, as you can see on screen, BB-8 runs head first towards enemies, a bit like Han Solo's shoulder charge, hits the enemy and deals damage. Every time he hits someone, he deals quite a lot of damage, but doesn't always kill them, if you know what I mean. The second ability that BB-8 has, which is his middle ability, is the cable spin, which is where BB-8 like rotates in the spot. He has area of effect that you can see in the circle, and he spins in the spot and he continually releases like cable ties enemies up, dealing them damage. So that's his middle ability, and his final ability is resistance back-in, which not only unveils enemies around him, but makes them more vulnerable to attacks, so they take more increased damage while resistance back-in is available, and if they're in his area of effect. And any enemies that are revealed by resistance back-in will also have their radar corrupted, so they can't see where BB-8 or anybody is. So that's his main attacking abilities, his main abilities. He has one primary weapon, which is his shock prod. Basically, he has a small little prod that comes out from inside of his body, a bit like a Palpatine lightning, continually shock players over and over, and once he hits them, the electrical damage does damage over time. So it's kind of like being hit with a stinger pistol type thing, where you just need to get hit once and it will just continually doing damage. So if you hit more than once, it will just carry on and carry on. So that's his main abilities and all his movement types. So we're just going to move on to his passive abilities. So first up, he's got technical support, which means BB-8 will count as 2 units when capturing command posts, which is very effective for capital supremacy and co-op. He can also activate objects faster. So a lot of the things in Galactic Assaults, where a lot of the objectives in Galactic Assault where you have to hold down the square button on PS4 or X on Xbox for it to fill the circle up, he's doubly as quick at that type of thing. His second passive ability is swift reaction. Basically, BB-8 increases the cooldown speed of nearby friendly characters' abilities, so he basically instantly refreshes them. And his third passive ability is what every single other hero has, which is the health on kill. So basically, when he kills an opponent, if he's been damaged, he gets health back per unit. So that's BB-8. He's got a couple of victory poses, which you can see on screen now. He's got sided, thumbs up, which is his iconic scene from Force Awakens, wired parade, and cables out. Then he has his emotes, which are excited, thumbs up, yet again, except this time it's animated rather than a victory pose, twist, and angry beeps. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go through his star cards quick, and then we'll move on to BB-9E. So he's got self-repairs, which means BB-8's maximum health regeneration is increased. Spared batteries, every trooper defeated or 200 damage to villains increases his shock prod damage. Shielded roll, which means BB-8 takes less damage while in rolling charge. Head first, which means BB-8 deals more damage when hitting an enemy with rolling charge. If you have both of them, he takes less damage and deals more damage, so it's quite a good combination. Spinner, when hitting multiple enemies with cable spin, the next cooldown of the ability is reduced. So the more enemies you hit with this star card activated, it means the cooldown of that specific ability is reduced. Whirlwind, both the damage and area effect of cable spin is increased. Uncover, enemies revealed by resistance backing will take extra damage from attacks. And Trusty Droid, which when BB-8 defeats an opponent that was revealed by resistance backing, he will heal nearby friendly characters. So that's a pretty cool star card. It's a boosting star card. It's more of a support star card rather than an attacking star card. And then last but not least, roll together. The increased cooldown speed of BB-8 is improved. So all his cooldowns are just improved. Don't take as long to reactivate. So that's BB-8. BB-9E has similar abilities but not as powerful as BB8. And I have also got to mention that BB8 has 650 health and BB9E has 600. So that's a big difference between the two of them, just in case you were thinking they're exactly the same character, just the light side and the dark side. They're not, they have different abilities. So BB9E also has a shock prod. One of his panels up and a prod comes out and starts electrically stunning players, and for every time you hit him it deals damage over time, like I said, like the Stinger pistol, similar to BB8's. BB9E's first ability is Smokescreen, which basically means when it's activated he just lets a massive smoke screen similar to Lando's out of his vents, and it just obscures vision and obscures, I think the community manager Ben Walk said it obscures lightsabers from locking on and sights as well, so unless you have a thermal sight. But yeah, that's a pretty good ability. BB9E's, whereas BB8's more attacking and is more offense orientated, BB9E is more defense and support orientated, and that's the big difference between the two of them. BB9E's second ability is Charge Up, which basically means he emits a pulse that places his shock prod and all nearby friendly blasters into super success mode. So when you use up your blaster and run it out and you have the bar and you have the green part and the yellow part, if you get it into the yellow part, that's what's called super success mode. It means you get to fire your gun without having to vent the blaster essentially, and then you get the extra, you get to basically fire your gun twice. And it'll also cause friendly units to no longer generate heat on their blasters and reduce their ability recharge time, which is basically what I've just explained. That's a really good support based ability. And his third ability, BB9E's that is Shock Speed. So it's pretty similar to BB8's Cable Spin, except it's a massive electrical pulse that just sends out and damages enemies within his area of effect essentially. Any enemies that are further away and just outside of his area of effect will have their blasters overheated. Both of them have similar abilities in like the Cable Spin and the Shock Spin, so they're pretty similar, except I've heard that BB8's does, and I've seen that BB8's does more damage than BB9E's. Charge Up and Resistance Backing are pretty similar, except BB8 just unveils them and makes them take increased damage, whereas BB9E essentially buffs his allies, so he gives them super success mode and refreshes all their abilities. So it's a similar ability but not exactly the same. And then last but not least we have Rolling Charge and Smoke Screen, which are two totally different abilities really. One's a smoke screen and one's like hand shoulder charge. So yeah, so that's all their abilities pretty much. Now we're going to move on to their passive abilities. So technical support is exactly the same as BB8's. They both count as 2 units when capturing command posts, and they can capture objectives in Galactic Assault and similar modes like that doubly as quick. This is where their passive abilities differ. BB9E's is back to support. He essentially heals allies while he's around them. So this is where they differ with their passive abilities. So essentially BB9E's boosts allies' health, whereas BB8's swift reaction lowers their cooldown speed, so they get their abilities quicker. And then both BB9E yet again has a health on kill card, so every hero has one of them. So I'm just going to go on to his victory poses and emotes quick. So you've got Shocking Victory, Incognito, Vigilant, Bow. That's his victory poses. Then you've got his emotes, which are Suspicious, Alarm, Backfire, and Spiral. That's the cosmetic side, and now I'm just going to cover his star cards quick. So you've got full reconstruction. BB9E's maximum health regeneration is increased, similar to BB8's. Linked systems, every 200 health healed to friendly characters reduces the shock prod stun cooldown. So the back to support kind of links with this. So for every enemy he heals, his shock prod cooldown just decreases. Hearty Exhaust, the smoke screen's just bigger. I See You, enemies revealed by smoke screen will be revealed for longer, so we can see them within the smoke for longer. Faster, if Shock Spin hits enough targets, its damage will be doubled for the remaining time. Spin Me Round, enemies hit by Shock Spin will be pushed further away, but its cooldown is increased. Swift Power, look, the cooldown of Charge Up is reduced. Supercharged, the radius of Charge Up is increased. Potent Bacta, the radius of Bacta support is bigger, but the cooldown between heals is also increased. So that's all their abilities. I've had some gameplay obviously up while I've been reading all this out to you, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like these two new heroes? Do you play a lot of Battlefront 2? Do you think this is going to change the meta at all? Is it nice that the dark side finally has a support hero, a buff, because the light side's had so many, so it kind of makes a change, and I'm actually surprised that BB8 is as offensive as he is and as potent as he is. So next up, we're going to just quickly touch on the Age of Resistance. So last month we had co-op on Takodana, Jakku, and the new map Agent Class from the Rise of Skywalker. Now they're basically being added to instant action and the newly titled Supremacy. All maps come with both the MC-85 Star Cruiser for the Resistance and the Resurgent class Star Destroyer for the First Order. And yeah, that's really all we got to touch on with that. I'm going to have a second separate video that should come out just after this that's going to just show you some gameplay of Agent Class and the two capital ships. Forward to that later on. Next up is just Error Select. Last month we added Error Select to co-op. Now that we've got 2 errors in Supremacy, they've just allowed that to be active now, so you can choose between the Age of Resistance and the Age of Republic. Then we move on to some auto player improvements. So essentially the AI in both co-op and instant action has been reworked, so AI droidicas are now available on all the places you can spawn in, so mainly like co-op, capital Supremacy and instant action, and also now AI players can now melee, so you don't want to get too close to them now because they will actually melee you. They won't just stand there and shoot you while you melee them. So yeah, that's really everything that we need to touch on with AI. Now we're just going to move on to the quality of life changes. They changed hit markers, so you can tell the difference between if you got hit by splash damage, which is essentially explosive damage, or if you actually got shot by the weapon, and you can also tell the difference between melee damage. So I'll just read it straight off the CT for you. So we created unique hit markers from the attacker's point of view for explosive and melee damage. This will allow you to more clearly see if you're dealing splash damage or if you're hitting your target directly. So that's basically what I've just said. In the case where you hit a target with an explosive bullet, you will see both the normal hit indicator plus the new explosive damage hit indicator. We have also removed an obsolete feature where each hit indicator would turn grey if your absolute amount of damage was below a certain hard threshold. Next up, we're just going to look at some explosive damage reduction. So some game effects can cause you to take less explosive damage from grenades, explosive bullets and other explosive damage sources. This includes the bodyguard star card and the protective area when in sentry mode with a heavy. We've now added the same in-game messaging for this that we use for normal damage reduction. This means that when you deal explosive damage to an enemy that takes reduced explosion damage, so like with the in sentry mode or the bodyguard star card, you will now see a red animated shield icon emanating from that hit, so similar to the shield icon that you see when players are rolling or in their when they're rolling, or Anakin's using all out push. You see the icon if you deal damage. That just means you're doing reduced damage. To distinguish between explosive damage reduction and normal damage reduction, they've created a new unique icon that looks like 4 small dots that can be superimposed onto the already existing shield icon that displays above enemies' heads. So you now know if you're dealing less explosive damage or normal damage reductions, like I said with Anakin's all out push and the rolls and stuff. Next up is just the Flame Trooper UI. It basically just shows you the area effect of the flamethrower now when you're using the Flame Trooper, so you don't have to do guesswork on whether you're hitting the enemy or not. Your Vision Gunner is getting a spool up functionality, so rather than just holding the fire button when you're the Vision Gunner, you now have to hold the aim button to spool up the weapon first and then you can fire essentially. It's also the same for the heavy sentry as well, so when you're using your big sentry weapon as the heavy, you have to spool it up, so you have to aim down sight first and then press fire. And then pretty much that's your lot. Now just a couple of little minor things. They added Agent Class to Hero Showdown, and they added 2 emotes, one for Finn and one for Kylo Ren, which are thumbs up, showdown respectively. And then yeah, that's pretty pretty much everything, ladies and gents, for now. If you want to see the full patch notes, like I said earlier, I'll put them in the description down below. You can check them out and see all the buffs and nerfs to all the troopers and heroes and villains and such. I will mention one thing right now that I thought was really cool is the Darth Vader. While you're using his choke ability, you can now block attacks and attack like it used to be in Battlefront 2015. Before, you were locked into the choke animation, you couldn't do anything. Now it's similar to like Rogue One, where you can choke someone and then hit him with a lightsaber or block if somebody else is shooting, if you know what I mean. Yeah, and I know there's some heavy nerfs for Palpatine and for Anakin. They can never get Anakin right. So yeah, that's the main stuff from this. As you can tell, all the stuff's been up on the screen. I'm just going to give you my quick thoughts on all of this, and then we're going to wrap the video up. So essentially, I think this is probably the best update they've done since the Geonosis update, maybe even since before that, maybe the best one of Battlefront 2 ever, because this is getting back to like the old updates, like when we had the season pass in 2015. You get a new mode essentially, a couple of new maps, 2 new heroes, new weapons, which unfortunately we don't have in this update, and a massive load of bug fixes. So I really like that. The fact now we're getting Supremacy on the Age of Resistance or the Sequel Trilogy, and we're getting it at the original trilogy at the end of the month. So essentially like Galactic Assault and all those big game modes that we used to play are now becoming obsolete because everyone's just going to play Supremacy because it's the superior mode, in my opinion. I just think it's absolutely brilliant. We've got 2 new heroes. We're not like what we did with the Clone Wars heroes where there was one a month. They're just putting both straight out. They're pretty well balanced so far. I haven't really seen anyone complain and kick off. There's no real big bugs. There was a lot of controversy last time when they announced we were getting the droids. Everybody thought we were going to get Poe or Hux, but I don't know. I think these might have been offered a slightly different playstyle than you would do with Poe, because both of them would have been blaster heroes more than likely, and I would have thought Hux would have been more of a support hero and Poe would have been more of an attacking / support. It would have had some support abilities and some attacking abilities, but it's nice to get droids. Hopefully we can get like R2 or 3PO or any other droids going forward, and hopefully we get the Clone Wars heroes, Asajj and Ahsoka eventually. That's just about going to do it for us today, guys. I've gone for about half an hour. I'm probably going to end up cutting shit out of this. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm going to try and make this a monthly thing. When the podcast comes out, I'm going to try and address CTs if they come out during the month, or new news and stuff. Ideally I want to do 2 podcasts. I want to do my movies only one, and then do a midweek one where I can just talk about anything. In that midweek one where I can just talk about anything is where I'll probably cover Battlefront 2, COD, stuff like that, like all the minor updates that we got. But this like big review of the month of the content we got, I think I might make a permanent addition to the channel that we'll just do every single time there's a big update. So yeah, ladies and gents, I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified every single time I upload, and don't forget to check out any of my other videos if you're interested. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I shall see you on the Battlefront. Goodbye.